You talked about starting your business initially in 2017 and then really in 2019 launching that. So I'm curious, who or what inspired your entrepreneurial venture?
Yeah, so I did say 2017, but so 2017 is really when it was, let's say, registered.
Yes, legitimize. I love that. I love that milestone. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that that's when the business started. So the business really, if we think about how long I've been doing this, it goes back to high school.
Wow.
Right. So from my high school days, my partners and I, we used to have, we used to do talent showcases. We used to do all ages parties. Like I'll remember, I don't know if you know Dwayne Morgan, but Dwayne Morgan was like a staple of our talent showcases
Yes,
back then in
yes.
high school days when people didn't know who Dwayne Morgan was. And then we started doing the nightclub scene and, start doing, some TIFF events and TIFF after parties, all that while still doing my corporate 9 to 5 and really building the brand, raising a family. So it was it's not an overnight thing. It's not something that started in 2017. It's really been much longer, building relationships and contacts and working with venues and doing a bunch of different collaboration and working with artists and production companies. And, so it's really been a very long time that I've been doing this. Just the business corporate events has been registered in 2017, but Debonair Entertainment was, back in 2020.
Hey, I love it. That is awesome.
Or back in 2000, what am I saying? Back in 2000, not 2020.
Yeah, 2000.
20 years ago, 21 years ago.
Hey, that is awesome. I love the Genesis story as well, right? So high school, you and your friends started doing this together and the growth over the time period. I love the date 2017 though. And I oftentimes tell in my own journey. So I was doing speaking and training well before 2015, but that's when I legitimized this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I realized what the tax structure looked like for my sole proprietor initially. And then in 2019 for us, we decided to incorporate. And so that journey of entrepreneurship, the idea oftentimes starts in the mind. At some point, you're mulling over the idea, should I start, should I not? And it's great to know that you started in your youth. And I think that is inspiring for, you talked about the youth conference you were just at, an example, a testimony of where you can be 20 years later, which is super exciting.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, have you read any books or, gotten any resources that have helped you either personally or professionally in your business that you'd like to share with us?
There's really been a ton. I'm right now, well, that's not really for my business. I'm right now reading the Barack Obama book. But if I think back to, one of the books that actually has helped me, probably I read this maybe about 5 years ago, is Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And it's not a small book, but there's a lot of great content in there. And it's just really around mindset and having the right mindset and knowing what you want and knowing that it's not going to be easy, but you can do it. That book has been very impactful to me. It was one of the books that really allowed me to say, let me register this business because I want to get it out of my head and start taking action. There's been a few other books that has really been impactful. I remember reading years ago the 7 highly effective habits, or the 7 habits of highly effective people. That's been, back in the days I read that one. That was really, really, really helpful to me. I've got to probably can look at my library and tell you a few others.
Hey, no, that's awesome. I think those two you shared Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey are great people, and I know Stephen Covey has passed on, but his work, his legacy still exists and has helped people on their journey. So that's really powerful. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have any tips or advice for entrepreneurs on their journey today?
I would say tips. I would say it's not always easy. And I would say there are probably going to be more days where you feel like you're not getting things done than there are days that you feel like you're getting things done. But you're working. So things are getting done. It just feels like nothing's getting done. And I have those days all the time. And then you look back in the rear view and like, oh man, I actually got that done. Oh, this is done. That's done. How did we even get here? Yes. Right? Even though sometimes it don't feel like you're as productive as you want to be. So when those days happen, just know that it's par for the course. It will happen. And I heard somebody say something about trying to get the balance. I'm not sure if there is such thing as a balance, but it's about just understanding who you are and knowing when to walk away and take a break and go and get some fresh air and getting that mental health break. I really believe in that. I think it's powerful. I think, we often overwork ourselves and don't give ourselves the opportunity to really just appreciate ourselves. And I think we need to do more of that as an entrepreneur. I'm guilty of it. I know it, and I'm guilty of it. But that's probably, a tip that I would say. Just, I guess there's a couple there, but yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I know you talk oftentimes about business management, tying back to the first tip that you shared. What are some of the insights or things that we should be thinking about as it relates to business management as a whole, tying that to, just know that it's no balance, but I like to call it the harmony that happens. It's a blend of all of these things and making sure that at the end of it all, that you are well, you are whole in the process. So talk to us a little bit about how does business management as a whole tie into that productivity piece for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think great business management will excel your productivity. When you think about business management, to me, you want to make sure, and I'm still getting better at this, so by no way am I ready to write a book and give instructions, but I've actually been managing people and processes at a pretty high level in corporate for 18 years. So actually, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. Sorry, I'm drifting for 1 second, but I think it's interesting. I was having this conversation. I've been managing people at a pretty senior level in corporate for all of these years with this infrastructure behind me. When you're doing it on your own, if you're a 1 or 2 or 3 people operation, it's a totally different grind, right? It's not the same management. But from a management standpoint, to me, if you understand, hey, look, you know what, I'm going to spend X number of hours on my finances, X number of hours on my marketing, X number of hours on my, taking care of my customers and reaching out to them. If you can categorize your task based on your time, I think that level of management as an entrepreneur is very important. And then that should lead to greater productivity.
That is awesome. I'm curious. My final question to you is, what is something, and I think it's tied to what you were just talking about, the tips for entrepreneurs, but what is something that you do to express self-love in a fun, epical way to take care of your mental health and well-being? So fun, epical is my word. Okay. Fun and epic combined, great or small adventures, but they're memorable and lasting. What is something that you do?
I think before COVID time, it was easier for me to answer that because, I love to socialize. I love spending time with people. Nothing brings me greater joy than, spending some time with the boys and just hanging out and, kind of clowning each other and reflecting. So that is what, I would say is a fun thing for me to do. One of the things that I find very meaningful, though, that, mean, I don't know if it's unethical, but is, just taking that daily morning meditation to kind of, reset every morning and spending that time to be with yourself. That 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes every morning is just to kind of just settle the mind, and then before you start your day. So that I find very powerful and meaningful for me.